What's up, ladies and gents, Ghost here, back with another jet tutorial. This time we're going to be taking a look at cutting. If you haven't already watched my yo-yo tutorial, I strongly recommend doing so, as it's generally considered to be an easier maneuver but still has some similarities to cutting. So what is cutting and how is it used? Cutting is an offensive maneuver that takes a shorter looping path to get you closer behind the enemy jet. Defining exactly what a cut is and isn't is quite difficult, since there is such a broad spectrum of situations where they're used. Say your opponent switches to your left, but you rudder switch left making a tighter turn. That would be a cut. Or leaving your opponent's loop entirely and then re-entering it at a more advantageous angle to position you closer behind the enemy jet. That would also be cutting. In this example, I'm positioning myself slightly outside of my opponent's loop, and then quickly rudder switching back into it again to gain position. This is similar to a yo-yo in terms of how you deal with a jet pilot who is constantly circling horizontally, only in this scenario, he's constantly looping upwards or diagonally, in which case we can use cutting to catch him. Some things to watch out for. Firstly, make sure you don't get too far outside his loop and lose him. If you lose sight of him for too long, he could easily pop ECM and switch or hook away from you, most likely resetting the dogfight to a neutral position. So make sure you keep an eye on your air radar and watch his vapor trails. Secondly, as in any other maneuver, speed control is very important, so make sure you concentrate. You'll probably notice in the example that I've had quite a few speed fails, most of them at times where I feel I have angles on the jet and switch to shooting mode. This is still something I have to get used to. When you have angles on an enemy jet, your concentration tends to switch away from speed control and outmaneuvering and onto aiming at the enemy jet and killing him. You have to train yourself to do both at the same time. I've recently discovered that for me, flying with the roll camera on whilst dogfighting allows me to aim much better in third person, and I find that I speed fail a lot less. But I know there are plenty of great dogfighters out there who use third person with the jet roll on, and others who prefer to use first and third person with the jet roll option off, so really it comes down to what you're used to and your own personal preference. Remember that cutting is a very broad subject, and there are all kinds of different cuts. Knowing where, when, and how to cut your enemy is something that will take practice and experience, something that I'm still learning about myself. But if you know a little about cutting, it can definitely set you apart from an opponent who doesn't know much outside of following loops with perfect speed control. So thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope it helped some of you out. Drop it a like down below if you enjoyed, and perhaps think about subscribing for more Battlefield tutorials in the future, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.